All right, good afternoon, everyone. We have some updates to bring you today, and with me today, back in person, and we have the Premier, Minister Hudson and Minister McKay, so I'll move directly to the Premier.
Thank you, Stephen, and good afternoon, everyone. It is great to be back. As we see and hear every day, this pandemic persists around the world. We're fortunate to have an incredible team of experts in the Public Health Office under the fearless leadership of Dr. Heather Morrison, working so hard every day to flatten the curve and to keep us safe. Essential healthcare workers and other frontline essential staff are working selflessly so that Islanders can be cared for and can access the necessary goods and services we need to live every day. Law enforcement continue to patrol communities and neighborhoods, protecting Islanders. All of these brave Islanders are working around the clock for Islanders. They are sacrificing time with their loved ones for us. They are leaving the comfort and safety of their home for us. They are putting themselves at risk for us. And what are we doing for them? We are putting them at greater risk by not staying home. We have been navigating this situation in our province with Dr. Morrison's expert advice. If I'm being honest, and I will always be honest with Islanders, I am disappointed that some still aren't listening to her. She leaned on the goodwill of Islanders and asked us to practice social distancing if we had to go out, to self-isolate if we have been traveling out of province. Then she had to tell us to do this because asking nicely didn't work. We brought in fines, significant ones, and engaged law enforcement to ensure Islanders are following Dr. Morrison's direction that she is giving to keep us all safe, to keep Islanders from getting sick or worse, from dying. This still isn't enough for some of you. So I'm asking the Attorney General to reinforce all Island law enforcement to make this a priority and fully enforce Dr. Morrison's directions. The time for education is over. The time for enforcement starts now. No more warnings. Every Islander knows what they have to do, and they have to do it now. I am thankful for Dr. Morrison and her steady hand in guiding this ship, and for all Islanders who are heeding her words. I am appealing to those of you who still don't get it. COVID-19 is serious. It is here in our province. It is making people sick. Do your part and stay home so you don't get sick or make someone else sick. No one here is invincible. COVID-19 knows no boundaries. It doesn't matter if you're a child or an adult. It doesn't matter your gender, which communities or county you're from, if you have traveled or not. Now more than ever, we have to do everything within our power to protect Islanders and to protect our fellow Islanders, to protect our loved ones, our neighbors, and our communities. We have to get this right because we don't want to be part of a growing number of cases or worse, deaths. We have to be practical. And we have to recognize that we have to go out of our way, and we have a long way to go before we get to the finish line. I am begging Islanders right here, right now, to listen to Dr. Morrison's direction. Stay home as much as possible. Practice social distancing if you have to go out, and self-isolate if you are arriving from out of province. This means you. Almost every day we've been rolling out a number of our government initiatives to address the concerns that we are hearing from Islanders. In 2 weeks, there has been a lot of change, but it has been necessary change. It's what Islanders need at this time, and our government is working hard to make sure these supports are there for you. Every department is working hard, looking at their programs and what needs to be fast-tracked. I know Ministers McKay and Hudson, I know their departments are working hard at how best to help Islanders and the business community navigate these challenging times. And they will be here today to share some more of these new initiatives that they are working on behalf of businesses and Islanders. These are extraordinary times, and as I have said times before, it seems that every day we are forced to do something we haven't done before. We take these steps because we can. We are putting these programs in place because Islanders need them, and this is money that Islanders need to see rolling now. Also, these are the levers at our disposal as a province that we can activate immediately and without having to rely on the federal government or other partners to execute. When we talk about being nimble and flexible, this is an example of that. I want to assure everyone that we will continue to hear from Islanders to transform their concerns into solutions that work for them. During these uncertain times, I want every Prince Edward Islander to know that we have your back. We also know that in recent weeks, the recent weeks have jarred our strong economic outlook, and that we will experience immediate, medium, and long-term impacts from COVID-19. We want to work closely with all businesses, those who drive our economy, and those who have been responsible for our recent economic strength as a province, so that we are doing everything we can to minimize the impacts of COVID-19 on our province and looking to the future when we can chart a course to recovery and return to normal, whatever that may be. Through my office and the Department of Economic Growth and Tourism, we have initiated the Premier's Economic Recovery Council, a strategic business working group to get the input of business leaders, the advice, and the discussions to look at options as to how we can best navigate our economy through these unprecedented times. The initial council met for the first time on Saturday to discuss the economic impacts of COVID-19, to discuss provincial and federal emergency programming that has rolled out thus far, and we shared some ideas on where our government and the business community can be working together to best address the gaps from these programs. As a group, we will continue to meet weekly and to work together so that until we get to the other side of this pandemic. These individuals will also consult broadly with others in their personal and business networks, as we need to continue to use an all-hands-on-deck model at this time. Essentially, we want to find creative ways for employers to keep as many employees on the payroll for as long as they can, so they can continue to access benefits, so they continue to have money in their pockets to pay their bills, and so our businesses and communities are best positioned for recovery. This could mean some type of temporary wage subsidy. It could mean accessing skills training upgrades or programming for employees, or any other creative solution that we can work together on to support hardworking Islanders. As an example, one company has changed from one 8-hour shift to 2 7-hour work shifts to allow for effective social distancing in the workplace. Our government was asked to explore an assistance program to temporarily top up the 1 hour of lost wages for those individual employees. That, to me, is a good investment and a really good creative way to help keeping Islanders working at this time. We need and want to see more of that. As part of our efforts to support this initiative, later today we are launching PEI Source Solutions to help island residents and businesses meet the challenges of the pandemic, including the need for medical supplies, virtual care supplies, or to share ideas on how we can help businesses and industries weather the impacts of COVID-19. We know that Islanders are innovative and resourceful, and we have already seen them stepping up to support each other during this unimaginable time. This new online portal will help connect provincial efforts and community support so that we are ready and able to respond to the continuing needs of our province going forward. Our overall message here is twofold. Number one, we want all Islanders to know that as a government, we have your back. We are going to do everything we can within our power to help you get through this difficult stretch. And number two, the reinforcement of the message that we are in this together. Government doesn't have and can't be expected to have all the answers, but we are committed to finding as many answers and solutions as possible. There has always been tremendous creativity and ingenuity within our island business community, and now more than ever, we need to see that come to the surface. We recognize that this is going to require investment, but it's an investment we need to make. We realize that we will need to continue to make it, and we need to be ready to continue to adapt and address issues as they arise. We are prepared to do that. We have been doing that, and we will continue to do that. And just before I close, Stephen, I want Islanders to know that we hear you. We feel the very same things as you pertaining to the uncertainty of things and how fast this is all moving. Islanders can and will do their part, practicing social distancing and self-isolation while keeping the island spirit we are known for at a high level as we work together to flatten the curve. Today's actions and tomorrow's impact, these are deeply intertwined. So we must continue to do what is right in the face of adversity to strike a balance between the new reality and living our lives to the best of our abilities. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Premier. We'll move over to Minister Hudson for his remarks.
Thank you, Minister Myers. This has been a difficult last few weeks for Islanders. Many Islanders have been laid off or have had their hours significantly reduced. We have put in place some immediate supports to help them through this. However, we know there are concerns about how they are going to keep a roof over their head. On March 19th, I announced a 6-week moratorium on evictions from PEI Housing Corporation. That moratorium will be extended now to the end of June. Today, I'm pleased to announce a $1 million temporary rental assistance benefit. Modeled on our rent supplement program, it will assist island households that are currently renting and have seen an unexpected loss of income due to the pandemic. For more information, call 1-877-368-5770. Once again, 1-877-368-5770. Earlier today, IRAC extended its suspension of all rental hearings, including eviction hearings, until further notice. Also, my colleague, the Attorney General, made application to the Supreme Court of Prince Edward Island, which we understand will be heard on April 1st, seeking a blanket eviction moratorium will be in place during the COVID-19 period. Housing plays an important role in the physical and mental health and overall well-being of Islanders. At such a stressful time, this is one thing we can do to help Islanders. We will continue to look at ways that we can alleviate the concerns of Islanders, including housing security during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Hudson. Now we'll move to Minister McKay for his remarks.
Thank you, Minister Myers. Hello, everyone. We know that the last few weeks have been incredibly challenging for island businesses. Every day, all day, my department is thinking of new ways we can help support island businesses during this very tough time. Through our business support phone line, we have heard your concerns, and we thank you for opening up and sharing your worries with us. Hearing directly from island businesses has helped my department shape all the programs we have announced to date. And today, I'm here to announce another program to help support island businesses. Today, we are announcing the Commercial Lease Rent Deferral Program. This program encourages landlords to defer rent payments from their commercial tenants for 3 months, spreading the deferred rent amount over the rest of the lease term. Landlords deferring rent because of their tenant's business is closed due to COVID-19 could be eligible to have government cover up to $15,000 per tenant, to a maximum of $50,000 per landlord if the landlord can't recover from the deferred rent. To be eligible for Commercial Lease Rent Deferral Program, landlords must register with Finance PEI by April 15th by emailing financepei@gov.pe.ca. Once again, financepei@gov.pe.ca. To learn more details about this program, visit princeedwardisland.ca/COVID for business. Once again, princeedwardisland.ca/COVID for business. Thank you, and everyone stay healthy.
All right, thank you, Minister McKay. I understand we have a number of media contacts on the phone, so we'll move directly to questions.
Sean McDougall, Eastern Graphic.
Good evening, everyone. I just had a question for the Premier. With the number of complaints that the province has been receiving about folks isolating, especially with the serious tone that your messaging has had this evening, has there been talks of upping enforcement in any capacity throughout the province?
Sean, I think halfway through the question you broke up. Could you just ask that again so I can make sure I have the complete question?
Yeah, certainly. So I was just saying, with the number of complaints the province has been responding to in regards to folks that aren't self-isolating, paired with the serious and firm messaging you had this evening, has there been talks of upping enforcement in the province in any capacity?
Well, I think that's exactly what we're indicating here is that I think because of the uncertainty of this along the way, following the advice of Dr. Morrison, we put in place the fine structure without the immediate intention to want to fine people, but we are finding that people aren't taking this as seriously as they need to. And we are telling through the Attorney General to the law enforcement agencies that the time for kindness is over. There are stiff fines in place, and we expect them to be utilized. We want people to stay the heck home, quite frankly. And I think Islanders, me included, these individuals at this table and so many more, are growing more and more frustrated that we're hearing people aren't taking this seriously. I think you would have to be living under a rock to not understand how severe this is. Our entire lives have been turned upside down in the span of 2.5 weeks. Everything is shut down. The world has stopped. What more information do you need to hear to actually heed this advice and to stay the heck home? So yes, we're giving our law enforcement agencies every opportunity here to use the full power of the new changes and fine structure, et cetera, to do their jobs and to take no prisoners here.
And just to follow up on that, I know that there's the structure of fines in place. Will there be anything else put in place for law enforcement to use? Could someone be jailed potentially?
Well, I think that's also included there as well. I mean, obviously, we want to work with our law enforcement agencies. We do talk with Dr. Morrison every day. This is one of the first things that we talk about each day. Whatever enforcement we need to keep looking at, we will do. I certainly would hope that Islanders don't need to be thrown in jail to realize how serious this is. But if that's the case, if we have to keep going that far, we have to really take, in particular now, the next 2 weeks of this is a pivotal time for us. If we have an opportunity to flatten the curve, we're in that phase now, and we need to take every opportunity to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie Wynn, Ocean 100.
Hello, Mr. Premier. I think we all can hear the frustration in your voice today. I have a few questions, but I know you'll be joining us tomorrow morning in Ocean 100, so we can tackle some of those then. But just with the enforcement issue, should grocery stores and other businesses that have been deemed essential be made or enforced to, employ people to cut down on the number that are entering in groups? We've heard numerous stories and received numerous messages from over the weekend of people shopping in groups of 2, 3, and 4. Should those businesses be made to enforce that as, kind of like one per household?
Yeah, no, Carrie Wynn, it's a great question. I know individual store owners and companies are working on that. I know there's been a request come to us to expand the hours of drive-through service, for example, for stores, so more and more people can shop online. As you know, that's been an overwhelming ability right now for the store to actually keep up with the demand. So we're looking to work with them to increase the hours of the drive-through. As we go through this day by day, we're seeing more and more store operators adjust to do things that they haven't done before. The stories today of stores doing home delivery and things that they haven't done for a number of years. But I think it's an important question, and I think it speaks as much to the store owners and the companies as much as it does to us as individual Islanders. There's absolutely no need for 4 Islanders to go in from a carload together to go get their groceries. And that's an ownership that we have to take a responsibility as first and foremost, and we have to continue to work with the store operators and those other essential service providers to make sure that we're doing every possible thing we can. But all of this starts at home. The policing of this has to start with each individual Islander.
Just a follow-up to that, Mr. Premier. We hear the messages being, put out to the public numerous times a day, and, all the media doing their best to get the messages out there. Now, they're being delivered primarily in English and French. With such a huge immigrant population here now, do you think the messages are perhaps not reaching some of the immigrant population that perhaps don't speak either English or French?
No, and Carrie Wynn, that's another great question as well. I think once again, as we go through this on a day-by-day basis, we try to identify, and you heard us talk a lot about this, the gaps in what we're doing. And this is one of those things. I know we've had individuals from our departments go out and talk to individual groups and representatives of those groups to make sure that they know. But if your question is, do you think we could be doing a better job in terms of how we're articulating this message in the variety of languages we need to make it in, then I would say yes, we do. We need to continue to do that, and we will. As we identify the gaps in this, we recognize our responsibility to make sure that every person living in this province knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and we will continue to do that. But yes, our outreach has to continue to improve. It has to evolve. It has to be a little more strategic and a little more targeted.
Thank you.
Laurent Rigaud, La Voix acadienne.
Thank you. I have a question for Minister McKay. Can you give us an update on the emergency working capital financing program, please? How many businesses have it now?
Sure. Thank you for the question. As of about an hour ago, there was 42 approved, totaling right around $2 million. There's another 60 applications in, which should be looked after within the next 72 hours from start to finish. And we're getting about 8 to 12 new applications a day. So that program's rolling out quite well at a quick time frame as well.
And just to follow up on that, if a business benefits from this capital financing program, is it possible to add to cumulate that with the commercial lease rent deferral program?
We haven't had that yet. It's a possibility. We haven't had that question come forward yet. I know I had a question on the rental side from landlords and single-family homes. That's something we can look at as well. We're suggesting everybody talk to their banks, see what kind of deferral programs the banks will help out with, and if there's any issues along the way, then come to us, and we'll do our best.
Thanks.
Brian Higgins, CBC. Brian Higgins, CBC.
Yes, thank you. This question is for whichever minister can best answer it. Some liquor stores have been closed. Are there plans to reopen some of the closed liquor stores? We're hearing that there may be some opening with reduced hours.
Brian, I'll take that, I guess. So we've been kind of working through this, and as you recall, when the liquor stores were closed, there was concerns for safety of the staff and the customers, and we want to make sure that we implemented changes that would bring the safety of both the staff and the customers into a higher light. So we did that last week with one. We added 2 more on the weekend. There will be a couple more coming online this week, but we're doing it slowly. We're making sure that we have the proper security before we move forward. We're making sure that we have the proper sanitization equipment at the entryways so that everybody is safe, and we want to bring the staff in and train them up and make sure that they understand how the new model is going to work. So that's a long way to say yes to your question, I guess.
Right. Can you tell me which 2 were added this weekend and which 2 are coming?
I believe Montague opened this weekend and Summerside, and you're the Granville Street one, and I believe the 2 that we're looking at here now are O'Leary and Surrey. Will come online this week at some point.
Thank you.
Okay.
Stu Niki, The Guardian.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I guess just a kind of 2-parter for Ernie Hudson. Wondering, A, how many rent supplements the $1 million would actually increase that by. I think it was identified as $11.50 in February. So how many more additional rent supplements would that be? And two, I guess why is this being announced now? I guess we're pretty close to the first of the month, so a lot of people might not be able to apply for this program in time to pay their April 1st rent.
Yeah, thank you, Stu. And I guess probably I'll answer your second question first, if that's suitable. As the Premier has said, and all of us have said, these are certainly unprecedented times. We're continuously looking at ways that we can help Islanders right across the board. On this past Friday, both Minister McKay and myself indicated that we're looking at programs where the gaps may be. We endeavor to identify, get these programs out as rapidly as possible. And I would anticipate that, yes, we're looking at April 1st coming up very soon, obviously. But I guess with that, too, is you look at Iraq extending their moratorium indefinitely as far as hearings on evictions. The fact that I announced here this afternoon, originally when I had talked and announced a moratorium on evictions for PEI Housing Corporation builds, it was for a 6-week period. That has been extended. You look at Minister Thompson, the application that has been made to the courts. The long and the short of it, Stu, is we want to give that assurances to tenants and to landlords and to all Islanders that we're there for them. At the end of the day, could have a program been rolled out a bit earlier? Certainly, it probably could have. But at this point, I think it's a very positive announcement. With regard to your first question, with regard to how many new supplements, rent vouchers, rent supplements that this will provide, I'll be honest, I do not have an exact number on that. But what we do want to make sure of is that tenants, that they do call the 1-877-368-5770 number. As we move forward, whether it's over the next week, whether it's over the next month, whether it's over the next 2 months, I think that we always we have to reevaluate, take a look at what programs are in place. Do they need to be extended? Just for example, here, one of the first announcements I had made was with regard to food banks, Salvation Army, the United Way Compassion Fund. And those are the types of things that, yes, we know that they're working. Do we know at the end of the day if they'll need more money or not? That is continuously monitored, and it'll be the same with this, too. Thank you.
Okay. And just one follow-up for Minister McKay. For the 4 programs that have been announced so far, the emergency income for self-employed, emergency work capital, emergency relief worker assistance program, and the employee gift card program, from the calculations from Friday, that comes up to the amount dispersed is about $3 million. How much has been allocated for those 4 programs, I guess, out of the full $25 million emergency contingency fund?
Good question, Stu. I don't have the exact number with the other. There's going to be another program that we're going to roll out on Wednesday, which will have more details in. With that included, I'm going to say we're probably in the 15 to 17 million range after Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Julien Lecacheur, Radio-Canada.
Question for the Premier. Premier, on Friday, Dr. Morrison said that now it's forbidden for the Islanders to cross the Confederation Bridge except if they need to work or if it is for a medical emergency. My question to you, Premier, is do you will send some cops there, maybe at the bridge, to be sure that Islanders, they are respecting that and they are not crossing the bridge anymore except for work or emergency issues?
I think what Dr. Morrison alluded to again today was, and I can ask the transportation minister to expand upon that, but we have really significantly increased our resources at the Borden. With highway safety being there, highway safety has an enforcement mechanism tool to turn individuals around who aren't traveling for essential reasons and have been doing so. Look, I think what Dr. Morrison has said is if you're not part of essential traffic, you're prohibited from driving on the bridge. We've seen significant reductions in the amount of people traveling across the bridge in recent days, and we've seen an increase in the number of vehicles who have been turned around. And I think I'll pass the rest of it on to Stephen here, but I expect we will continue to see that into the next few days because enforcement measures have stepped up significantly.
Yeah, so we do have staff up there working now, keeping an eye on the situation. We've talked to New Brunswick to talk about what it is that they're asking at the border. The premier over there today said that they turned away 93 people trying to get into New Brunswick from all borders over the weekend. We do have what their questions are, and along with the people in health that are monitoring the public health situation, we're coming up with a questionnaire that's going to match more closely what is being asked in New Brunswick, and the enforcement mechanism will be there.
Just a follow-up on this, Minister Myers. So you said to me that if people they are arriving on the island, that they will speak with someone for the highway, and if they don't have, if they don't need to be on the island, they need to go back. That's correct?
So,
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, so that pretty well wraps it up. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Because he's back in person, I'll leave the last word to our Premier.
Well, I don't have anything more to say, but other than that, just the importance of heeding this message. I would say that this afternoon I had a conversation with my friend and colleague, Dwight Ball, the Premier of Newfoundland, and he tells me that, the first case of community spread that they had in Newfoundland, it really changed the focus. And today they had their first death, and that changes the focus and the buy-in of people. And he said to me that if you in Prince Edward Island could ever be so fortunate enough to not have to go through those things, to get the attention of the people, the full attention of your citizens, and to really, really dig in here for these next 2 weeks, that you might be in a unique position to get through some of these things. And he certainly wouldn't wish that on any of us. So those are important words I think that we need to share. We don't need to see a death here to realize how serious this is. So I encourage everyone, I ask you, I beg you, take this seriously, do what we need to do, dig in like we always do as Islanders, and by working together we'll get through it. So thank you.